Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the Absolute, you have the Deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders.
There's a brand new police commissioner in Gotham, and there is crime up afoot. But when that crime transfers from the mob to the Cape, what happens when the Dark Knight is there to try to stop it? This is Absolute Batman Dark Victory, and you are watching Near Mint Condition. And hello again, everybody. I am Dom of X, Near Mint Condition Manager, comicrelease.com, associate editor, and we got a nice one in store for you folks. Of course, the second of the three Absolute Batman by Tim Sale and Loeb books. We are looking again at Dark Victory. And this is a look at the book, of course, with a little preview of what is inside the slipcase. This is indeed the front of the book with Tim Sale's Dick Grayson. Here is a look at the spine, of course, a wraparound cover with Absolute Batman, Dark Victory, Loeb, and Sale there at the end credits, and a look at the backhand of the slipcase, which is, of course, half of the dynamic duo. If we take away the slipcase, we get this view of the cover, which is, again, on the front of the dynamic duo, Absolute Batman, Dark Victory, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, as the cover only covers 3/4 of the main, if you will. Dark Victory on the spine. We got the DC bullet logo encased in orange on the bottom. And then, of course, Absolute Batman there on the side hand, as if you already didn't know what this book was. And then the back is just your standard. They also, just like all of the other Absolutes in the DC Absolute line, also do want to mention that there is no dust jacket here. It is sewn binding. We do have a ribbon inside of this book. We do have one of these papers and cases. So the people over at the comic shop or whatever retailer you are purchasing this from is a nice little pamphlet of the ISBN and also a quick little snapshot of the synopsis and what this book entails. Now, if you are looking to put it on your bookshelf, I do not have the current long Halloween Absolute, but if it were there, it would be on the end. Yes, this book does encapsulate the trilogy, as it is not a prequel. It is, of course, the sequel to the Long Halloween, and it is indeed the tail end of what would be Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb's long-running Batman miniseries series. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and crack open Absolute Batman Dark Victory. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the Absolute Batman Dark Victory hardcover by the late legendary storyteller Tim Sale, of course, Jeff Loeb, who is still currently over at DC. We have a look at these trapezes and something there on the end. Whatever might that be, we'll get into that in just a little bit. And then, of course, we have the bat signal being flared up into the sky. I really like, at least on the cover, the mix of the reds that they use here. Shout out to Gregory Wright, who was the colorist on this book. And here we do have Absolute Batman Dark Victory, all in bold font with, of course, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale as the storytellers, Gregory Wright, colorist, Richard Starking's letter, and, of course, inspiration to the late Archie Goodwin. Bill Finger with Bob Kane there on the cover, creator for Batman credits. And on the left-hand side, we do have info to the publication information and editorial information as well. This was printed over at the Donnelly Printers. And then on the right-hand side, we do have an introduction by JSA co-writer and also the storyteller or half storyteller behind the Dark Knight trilogy of movies, David S. Goyer, where they talked about specifically what went into the details in terms of how big of an inspiration the Dark Victory book was to the Dark Knight. And you will probably see as I flip through this book all of the hands and inspirations, and even some of the panels where I just went, wow, like they actually ripped that straight from Tim Sale's pencils over into this specific movie. But we're not talking about the movie. We're talking about Dark Victory, which is a 400-pager with a bunch of extras in the back, and it does collect, of course, issues 0 through 13 of Batman Dark Victory. I almost said Absolute Batman for whatever reason, but you can blame the cover insignia at the front. So what is this book about, and what is behind the story of all of this, and why is it the sequel? We had a deluxe edition a couple of years ago. It had like 20 letters in it. It was like Batman The Long Halloween sequel, Dark Victory Deluxe Edition, and I just went, wow, they are really going for the jugular in terms of just how long these names are. Like, is this a manga? Is this Batman? But what is this about? I'm not going to go into the full depths and details of what happens in The Long Halloween, because I think you guys should read that story for yourself and judge it on yourself based on whether it is a Batman story that you find enjoyable. But this is the direct follow-up to it. And every single thing that they mention in here, all the events that happen in Long Halloween, everything that happens in the first couple or so issues are direct lead-ins from what happened in those days before. And I just don't think it's fair for me to go over in this specific overview of, well, what on earth happened in the Long Halloween. And again, it's a story you guys will have to read for yourself, because of course it is some of the first team-ups that we did have with Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. But what does this book entail? We have a brand new police commissioner in Gotham, and as you might know, his name is Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon, of course, one of the most important Batman characters in all of fictional lore. And we do have another one of these, at least in the first half, another one of these mysteries that is laid before us in terms of another person going around Gotham hanging people. They're known as the Hangman. But Jim Gordon's flux isn't not just necessarily on the Hangman, it's also dealing with a brand new district attorney whose name is Janice Porter. And Janice Porter isn't necessarily approving of everything that is happening over in Gotham. Janice Porter finds herself stuck in the mix of, well, she obviously wants the law to be fully fulfilled, but it's also unfortunately at the hands of somebody that she doesn't necessarily approve of. And if Batman is going around here solving crimes, solving detective cases, and also doing the work of the police, it leaves her in a hand of, well, I can't have, the police force and everybody under my immediate control be a part of this guy who feels like he's above the law and is doing things outside of the law. So you do have that case in hand of a little bit of a power struggle there, but you also have Bruce, who is really putting everything to task here in this book. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who takes up the mantle of the city's protector, the city of Gotham's protector. You really do get to see Bruce figure out ways to elevate himself into the spotlight of, I am going to be the man in charge here. But this is all at the hands of the fall of Harvey Dent. Again, like I said, I wanted to keep the spoilers to a minimum, but as you're scrolling through these pages, yes, the reason to why there is a brand new DA is because everybody is still trying to fall over at what they lost in Harvey Dent, not only as a person, but as somebody who wanted to help Gotham City. But of course, with his fall towards villainy, fall towards Two-Face, that can't happen anymore. So Batman really has to pick up the slack in terms of the power vacuum that is left to hold because of the uncertainty in Gotham. But we also do get a hand, like I had sort of teased earlier. We had, at least for the most part in the Long Halloween, seen the struggle between the gang families, the crime families in Gotham, the Maronis, the Falcones. And what you get to see in this book is sort of the shift in power as we get towards a Gotham that is a Gotham that we associate ourselves more with, where it's less so that we have all of these families like trying to do deals under the tables to get the soul of Gotham. I feel like I've played too many Arkham games to sort of not say that specific line. But it goes from that to, wait, hold on. There are these evil supervillains like the Joker, and we have the Riddler, and we have Scarecrow. These villains that are eventually going to vie in for their own power grab in Gotham. And we get to see that through the pages of this book. And as we get to see through that, we get a lot less Bruce Wayne and a lot more Batman. The reason to why I believe that this is, in my mind, the best of the 3-part series, and yes, you may call me a hypocrite, call me whatever, I think that Dark Victory is the most powerful and the best written book of the Batman Haunted Knight, Batman Long Halloween, and Batman Dark Victory trilogy. You want to talk about something that I do rather enjoy in this book. It's getting to see just how visibly important the Batman side of the Bruce Wayne Batman paradigm is. And it's highlighted here. In every single point in the book, you do get to see bits and pieces of Bruce's humanity. I think I've obviously read, Batman Hush, and there's a little bit of there, but you do get to see Bruce kind of being split between, what his, seeing his father and mother die feels like for the 100th time, but you also do get to see him transition into the character that we know today. But the second part of this book, and the reason to actually why I also do believe it's a much stronger book than Long Halloween and Haunted Night, is in due part to the introduction of the Flying Graces and the introduction and the origin story, if you will, the retcon to Batman Year 3 by Marv Wolfman is because of the introduction of Robin and the true sort of origin story for how the dynamic duo became to be. Why on earth is Dick Grayson so important to Batman lore, and why the overall thought of there being a Batman and a Robin is such an important thematic spot in Gotham, something that Grant Morrison obviously would later take on in their Batman run. And all of these ideas and everything that you have read in Haunted Night and Long Halloween come to a clash ahead, especially later in this book. And I do mean that in a great way. This is such an important milestone in the life of Batman that I do think that in many ways this book is, again, I just really do believe it is the most important book of the 3. We get to see the continuing and budding relationship with Catwoman and Batman, as if it's a big crux in all of the Loa books, but it's still very much a thing here. But one other thing that I also do want to notice in the envelopment of it all is the evolution of Tim Sale's art from what he had in the Long Halloween to this book. This book might have my favorite pieces and spread pages and action pieces of Tim Sale's incredibly grotesque arc. It's something that when I think of Gotham, I think of this haunty place of these tales of all of these insanely weird looking supervillains and just being freaked out by them. You're thinking of like a nice October spooky vibe. I really do think that Tim Sale really gets his legs under here, and this is really where his art shines, even more so I think than the Long Halloween. And in the case of everything, because of how much more of a cape story it is, I find myself enjoying more in this book than I do with Long Halloween. If Long Halloween is this build-up mystery for its 13 issues, Dark Victory is the part antithesis as to, well, this is the Batman story that I think most people are vying for, and because of that, I do rather enjoy these pieces over here in this book. And man, the ending, it's still as powerful as I remember, and it is such a delight that we have this finally back in print. We also do have here in the extras a look as to how the crime empire works along with some interviews and conversations with letterer Richard Starkings and Jeff Loeb and the creation of this specific title. And then, of course, what would it be without sketches of certain characters from the hands of Tim Sale? We have a look here on the left-hand side with Scarecrow, Solomon Grundy, Born on a Monday, and that was the story of Solomon Grundy. Catwoman and Penguin, of course, the Calendar Man, Joker, and Two-Face. More preliminary sketches, some used for convention bags. And then a look at some of the sketches for what would eventually be the hardcover. And then a look at, of course, all the characters, creators who made this book possible. And that, as they say, is Batman Dark Victory. Now, if you're looking to purchase Batman Dark Victory, please check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that is going to be it for me. Let me know down in the comments section below if you are planning on picking the Long Halloween sequel, Dark Victory, up in absolute format. I am, of course, Dom of X. Please stay safe, everybody, and have a Dom-tastic day.